let's talk about the newest collection from Beaute Bar. We have the Melted Mattes and the Molten Chromes. Love the theming of this, love the font. I think this is such a fun little curated collection. There's also a blush palette which I will show you, but I will not be using in this video. I'm really just a cream blush kind of girly, so it just doesn't make sense for me to use it only once. And I was sent the products in PR from Beaute Bar, so thank you so much for sending it over to me. And I do also have an affiliate code with Beaute Bar, which I will put up on the screen in case you're interested in any of the products. So first, let's talk about the all matte palette. We have some neutrals as well as some really bright poppy kind of corals and pinks. Especially the bottom row is predominantly neons, and these are removable pans, but they do not have names on them. So you can create your own kind of BYOPs between these two palettes, also between all the other eyeshadow palettes from Beaute Bar that are magnetic, which most of them are, if not all of them. I do believe that they recently re-released the Recently De-Influenced palette, and it has removable pans, which I love that so much. And I do really like that you have some deepening up shades in the top row, so you can kind of really mix and match. Onto the Molten Chromes palette, you have 6 shimmery, duochrome, multichrome, and 1 holochrome shades in here. And this palette is on the pricey side because you're basically paying for all the special shimmer shades in one palette. So these do break down to be around $10 each. And again, they are removable and these are named. Molten is the holochrome in here. Really great kind of everyday shade, but with that surprise of holo. There are 3 squishy shades. So these 3 are a little bit more on the squishy side, are on the squishy side, especially Molten. This one I did have to take a napkin and just try to press out as much of the oil in it as possible because this one was quite squishy. These two are a little bit less emollient, a little less squishy. And then Dissolve, Bake, and Drip are on the smooth side. You can even just tell by the texture in the pan that these have different textures. So these 3 are a little bit more textured, but they do completely smooth out. And then these 3 are just really smooth right off the bat. I am wearing on the lid currently Dissolve, just all over the lid. Such a beautiful, really, really metallic, wet looking shade that is super, super smooth. So I'm going to be showing you detailed swatches of each of the shimmer shades. However, I'm not going to be doing comparisons in this video. Unfortunately, there's just been so much coming out. I do not have time to do comparisons, but let me know in the comments below if there's any shades you would like to see compared and I can post it to my Instagram stories. I definitely think I have seen some of these shades already from different brands, either in previous palettes or single eyeshadows as well, especially the shade Bake. I definitely think I've seen the shade quite a bit often, but just let me know and I can post those to my IG stories at some point. And I will be showing you 2 looks with both of the palettes paired together. So let's get right into it. Heat is a bright peach with an orange to kind of a little bit of a lime shift. It is a little bit flakier in the pan, but just the tiniest bit, and it does completely smooth out. And it is a little bit soft in the pan, but not necessarily squishy, and it is sheer. Melt is a sheer, very pale pink straight on. It has a little bit of a grayish silvery shift in it in the base, especially on an angle. And this one has the same texture as Heat, so it has just a little bit of texture but completely smooths out and is not too squishy, but has a little bit of softness in the pan if you press down. Molten is a holochrome. This one is a rose gold straight on, and it shifts to a gold and then blue and green, all the way at a harsh angle depending on the lighting, and the hollows are just spread out throughout it. This one is very, very squishy and flaky, but it does smooth out because it is so squishy. Dissolve is such an interesting, beautiful shade, very smooth, and this one has a gold yellow flash straight on, and it has almost a little bit of like a taupey silveriness at certain angles. It's such an interesting shade. I love this one. Bake is a blue, purple, pink multi-chrome shade. It does look a little bit greenish straight on, but it does have also blue reflex and then shifts to blue to purple, and it doesn't have too much of a base, definitely more sheer. Drip is the least sheer shade out of all of these, and this one is also very smooth, and this one is a cool toned purple shifting to a magenta. First going to be dipping into this shade, and I primed with the P. Louise paint. It's basically white, but I didn't have it like fully opaque white. Kind of try to blend it out a little bit. But that's just going to go underneath my lower lash line and on the outer corner. And I'm having quite a bit of fallout actually, which I'm not really familiar with Beaute Bar. And then I'm going to take a fluffier brush, and I'm picking up this shade, and I'm just going to use that on the edges. And also to hopefully get rid of some of this fallout. just taking it on the edges, and then I'm going to go back in. I'm going to wipe off this smaller brush. I feel like it got a little stuck here. So I'm just going to try to blend it out. Next, taking this neon orange. I don't really wear neons pretty much ever. So all I know is to not really blend them and just kind of tap them on, and tap them on in a manner where they will just blend as you're tapping them. And then I'm picking up the neon yellow, and it's going to go right on the inner corner. I mean, super, super pigmented, and it's going down really nicely. From the Molten Chromes, I'm picking up this shade. Very smooth, very shiny, and that's going to go all over the lid. I think it really goes well with the neons. And then I'm just going to go back in with this fluffy brush and just blend the edges in the mattes. And then I think for the inner corner highlight, I'm going to take Dissolve just on my pinky and just pop it right in here. Here's the first finished look. For the second look, I just primed with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer so that we could also see these on top of our regular non-white base. And I think I'm gonna go in with this shade, and that's just gonna go right into my crease. And I'm taking this cream shade and using that to just blend the edges of that further, just really make them very soft. I'm going to deepen out the outer corner with this dark brown, just a little bit more, and a little bit underneath my lower lash line as well. And going back into this shade just a little bit, and I'm gonna put that on the outer corners and just blend those together. And then I'm also gonna take the fluffier brush and that cream shade on the edges here. I'm just going to be switching in between, taking a little bit more of the dark brown and merging it into the pink. And then a fluffy brush with no product on it, maybe a little bit of sparkles that was on my towel, unfortunately. Going back in and just further blending it, and then taking just a tad bit more of the pink. Just want to blow it out a little bit more out here. For the shimmers, I'm going to use Molten. This shade is quite squishy. It is also holographic, but because it is squishy, it does not pick up the best with a brush, so I definitely want to use this one with my finger. And I'm going to avoid my crease, so I'm really only going to put it kind of directly on my lid. And then just make sure it's blended out in the outer corner here into the brown. Picked up Bake and I misted my brush, and that's gonna go on the rest of the lid up into my crease. The shade is not squishy. I did wear it the other day and it did crease on me by the end of the day, and it kind of started disappearing. I didn't use a tacky primer though. I just wanted to see what it would look like on top of the Shadow Insurance from Too Faced, and then taking Melt on the inner corner. This one also is a little chunky, so it doesn't pick up the best. Here's a second finished look. So I haven't used all the shades in the palette. I am pretty familiar with Bella Beaute bar mattes at this point. However, not their neon. So these are the first time, I believe these are the first time, at least this is my first experience with neon shades from Bella Beaute bar. They might have had like one or two really bright shades in their previous palette that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but these are specifically neons. So these are definitely more on the powdery side. You want to pack these on and pack them on until they kind of blend themselves. You don't want to go in blending these, and that's just the nature of neon pigments. Really great for pops of colors, especially in the inner corner, lower lash line, you name it. I think some of these seem a little bit lighter and harder pressed from each other, so there's a little bit of discrepancy in terms of kick up with these shades, but the shades I used worked great for sure. Now let's talk about the Molten Chromes palette. Unfortunately, the shade Molten, like I said, is really squishy, so not really something I can use, especially if I want to wear it all day. It will definitely crease and probably kind of disintegrate on my lids. If you have hooded oily lids, definitely something to keep in mind, but I did use a tissue and just try to press out as much of the binder as possible, so I should be able to use it just a little bit more freely now, but it might still crease on me a little bit. As long as it doesn't crease on me within 30 minutes, I really don't mind. I know I've been saying this a lot and I feel like a broken record, but just in case you haven't watched some videos, I do want to mention it because I do usually have to end up tap my eyeshadow out throughout the day, especially now that it is summertime and it's been really hot, and also the level of my oily lids just tends to vary, so sometimes I have more creasing, sometimes I don't. I wore the shade Bake with, I forget which eyeshadow primer, I think it might have been the Pat McGrath, and it did crease on me throughout the day. It didn't crease like immediately, but it definitely started to kind of disappear by the 12th hour mark, which is to be expected. I don't really expect anything to last perfectly on my lids at this point. That ship has long sailed. It is extremely rare, so just keep that in mind. Personal experience, you might not have any of these issues, and make sure that you're using some sort of a tacky primer. I think it's a really nice variety of different shades. I think this palette goes great, of course, with the mattes. I think a lot of these shades are great one and done kind of shadows, and you can also create some really beautiful layered all shimmer kind of looks. Definitely more of a summer kind of curated all shimmer eyeshadow palette. So let me know in the comments below if you picked any of these products up. I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything with this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.